Anyway, got some really unique books that this week at Dave's Comics in Fayetteville, Georgia. I love to do the deep dive into the dollar box, and these will end up on my spinner rack. Arrgh. Oh, by the way, my name is Drew Dracy, 30-year comic book industry veteran and fanboy for life since I was about 7 years old. So this is comics I either got from my rack or I just bought to go in the rack. Arrgh. Now, a lot of people don't know about this book, and you know what? To be frank, I've forgotten all about it too. And I saw this in the dollar bin. I was like, "Yeah, baby." This was during, this was like '74, so they were just trying a little bit of everything. And Arrgh was a humor mag, much in the style of Mad magazine, and also Crazy magazine came out, and it was in comic form for 3 issues. And then became the Crazy magazine, the big black and white like Mad magazine was. But the first 3 issues are in comic form in color, and they basically reprint Not Brand X from the late 60s. But this is interesting. What's weird is reading the kind of stuff as an adult now. I don't get belly laughs because I throw one joke after another, or they might. It's like when you read, Mad magazine, you're not gonna bust a gut, unless you're looking at Sergio Aragone's border drawings, or examine like Mort Drucker, and those other kind of guys. But I'm sure when I was, under 10, I would have thought this was a belly laugh. Night Gawker is a pun on Night Stalker. And here's some interesting credits for you here. It's really hard to read. Writer is Jack Younger. Art is by Jerry Grandinetti, who I've heard of in fan circles, but I don't really know much about him. And if you know anything below, you could leave comments below. I don't want to Wikipedia everything, because then, I like to interact with people and say, hey, maybe you didn't know this, and maybe this isn't on Wikipedia. So it's edited by Roy the Boy Thomas, and that really reminds me of Jungle Book by Harvey Kurtzman. Just the black spotting, but Springer is inking, which is really interesting because Springer is usually more fluffy. So I'm thinking Grandinetti was a tight penciler and wanted more solid contrast. So basically this ongoing joke is that Night Stalker he keeps finding vampires and monsters and all that, and his editor refuses to believe him. And he's a photographer. He's chasing them around and chasing all these critters around. They get a werewolf, and he kills it, but then it turns back to human, and they're like, you just killed a man. And I never really believed it or not. I'll probably get my stampede at my front door, but I never watched Kojak the Night Stalker. I don't know why. It was, at the time, it didn't interest me. I was little too. Now this reprints. This has to be reprinting some really much older stuff, because it just has that look. I don't know if it's like Joe Maneely trying to be Wally Wood or one of the other guys. But it certainly looks like a reprint. And it's done, like I said. Wally Wood would do all these little signs and stuff, and this looks like from the 50s. So pretty weird. It's fun for the art, but the stories are kind of meh. Mighty Thor, Tom DeFalco, Ron Friends take over after Walt Simonson. What is astonishing is Walt Simonson was on Thor and delivered possibly the best Thor stories that have ever been, because even when Stan and Jack were doing Thor, there was a ton of inconsistency, and there was a ton of like a Deus Ex Machina where Odin would show up, clap his hands or whatever, just everything would be fine. But these guys went a little Walt went a little further, and what's amazing is usually after you have a really good run on a book, there's usually like half year to a year, at least back then, of like shitty fill-in books or a shitty short 3-issue story, and This went right into the DeFalco Friends, and it sort of went the opposite way. It's, I mean, I can't. The best way to put it is there's a healthy bit of nostalgia, although the stories are still solid. They're not like recreating the '60s, but it was just amazing. These guys got really popular. You know, they didn't. They weren't. You know, they weren't shunned by fandom because they weren't. You know, Walt Simonson, but. There's Ron actually co-plots, which was great. Now Milgram's finishing the art. It's Titania. She came from the Secret Wars, the original one. She's with Crusher Creel, and he's trying to get sort of trying to find her. And there's our main character, Eric Masterson, enjoying his tater chips. And Spider-Man shows him. What's really interesting is we're on Friends. I mean, he drew Spider-Man for years with Tom DeFalco, and his style was completely different. It was more, he really leaned on like the Ditko wild, movement and, what do you call, backflips, just all these real elaborate, cool things going on. And he kind of, much like Alex Sabiak, much like Sal Buscema, they kind of upgraded their style a little bit because, Todd McFarlane on Amazing Spider-Man was just kicking ass. So you'll see nods to Kirby and nods to Sal Buscema and even John Buscema. I love that guy. I think Pat Olliffe created him in a previous backup-ish storyline. Very Mike Mignola-ish character. And then you got the Guggenheim. You got the Gold Bull, who somebody tried to steal in the early Thors, I don't know, like 130 or something, and then Daredevil 129. So he was trying to make a deal with Thor so they could get back together again, which is, it's kind of fun in a funny way, because, fun in a funny way, listen to me, I'm sorry, frightfully inarticulate. So it's supposed to be like kind of a fake out that he wasn't really going to steal the Golden Bull, and Titania was going to be like defend him against Thor, and Spider-Man gets involved. It's like, hey, I'll get what's going on with you three. And Pat Olliffe did the backup strips, and what's great is that kept Friends on the book every month. And the backup strips were great. Tales of Asgard, man. Who don't like that? And Crimson Plague. This was published by Image very briefly in the very late 90s. I'm saying like 97, 98. And only one issue came out. And then what happened is, let's see if it's even on here or not. Oh yeah, Guerrilla Comics. It was an imprint with a bunch of creators like Kurt Busiek and Stuart Immonen. You had Mark Waid and I can't remember at the moment. Barry Kitson. You had all these people doing their own creator thing within their own imprint. And first it was an Image Comics imprint, and then eventually they got their own imprint. And it was kind of an odd. It wasn't really strong. It wasn't a strong business model. They were going to have a website, and all the money they get from website would go into the comics. And back then, it was very, very, it was very new. But I love what's going on. It's very busy and crazy. This reprints the previous issue. It's like the new number one because, they all started with number ones with Guerrilla Comics, and he was the only one who had something established. And look how crazy this detail is. Basically, the main character, this woman, if you were trying to mug her and you like cut her arm or something, if she bled on you, you would die. She had toxic blood, which is pretty trippy. But there's so much going on here. And it's beautiful. Tom Smith is the colorist who Perez preferred. And I prefer too because he's putting everything there, but he's not hiding. It's not over saturating the pencils and the inks. You know, you could, as busy as it is, you could still sort of make out. I mean, can you imagine if there were like lens flares all over these panels? You wouldn't be able to read anything. Like, that's a color hold, but it's all within, you know, one particular image. It's not like, you know, her side of the face is going to be like this sharp, hard, you know, dark blue or something. But it's pretty neat. I haven't read it yet because it's so dense. Lordy mama. Okay. Now we go to Cyberrad. This is back when, you know, cyberspace was the big word, and radical was left over from the 80s. But Neil Adams continuity comics is an interesting thing. There's some people who collect all of them, and it's not really that hard because not a lot of issues came out. The first issue, Continuity Comics, came out after Continuity Studios that Neil Adams started. It was Ms. Mystic in like 1981 or 2, and the next one didn't show up for years. And frankly, doing comics, especially for Neil, who had a very popular, he was very successful advertiser artist. So that paid a lot more. So this was sort of a hobby of his, but he took it seriously, and books came and went a little bit at a time. But back in 1993, everybody was doing a major league crossover, all the small books and the indie books. So he decided to do Death Watch, and there's a 7 here, which will let you know it's a 7th issue. You have to read like let's just say Ms. Mystic. The last issue was number 6, so you kind of follow this way. This was something that Mike Carlin in the Superman books really had huge success for, in my opinion. They had 4 monthly titles, they had 1 quarterly title, and to read them in order, there would be these little triangles up in the corner. I was like, that's really great, because I used to get my comps from DC, like a whole big old box of comps, and I wanted to read the Supermans, but I didn't know what order to read them because I would get them all in one lump. With that little triangle, it made it really, really cool. Now, like, Neil comes up with the concepts. He does some layouts sometimes, but he farms it out to a lot of his assistants or other pros that he knows he can trust. Like Mark Beckham, he did some Spider-Man stuff, and he did the I can't think of it. He would draw women like uber sexy, crazy poses and that. And he did what was it? I can't think of it. Arrgh, you know, and of course she had her butt prominently, and it was just bizarre. I never picked that one up it just seems stupid. Now check this out. This is one of those magic eyes. You have to look into it to see the puzzle. This was a big thing in the early 90s or the mid 90s. They used to have these puzzles that look like this in different colors, and once you studied it, you could see shapes. And, you know, really cool 3D stuff, you know, and just really, really amazing. I remember they used to have these kiosks at the malls, and they would sell these big, I don't know what they'd be, like maybe 24 by 24 posters for $50 each. I'm talking $50 in $1994, okay? And eventually the newspapers in the comic strip section, which was pretty big at the time, especially on Sunday, they would make their own and publish it. And newsprint, and the printing was good enough that you could actually make it. They called it Magic Eye. That's what it is. So I really like how this is going along with its plot and layouts by Neil, dialogue by Peter Stone, who's done a lot of stuff for Richard Bennett, who I don't know, but he does an amazing job. I mean, you would not know it's not Neil Adams. Corey Adams, I don't know if he's a brother or a son or a nephew, but it's coming along really cool. And the dialogue is actually pretty good, because Neil's dialogue can be a little, I don't know, wild. How about that? Look at all that detail. That's nuts, man. That is nuts. And everything looks sort of functional in a way. Enough to bullshit you. Okay. And even the coloring, like that looks like a lot of the, I love the way that looks. Wow, it's like that bridge collapsing. And these posts, I can't remember what they're called. So this guy, he has a video camera. He's trying to get away and show evidence of these aliens. Pretty stunning. How about that guy? Wow. Whoop. This is an experiment, nothing more. So, anyway, here's all the books that are coming out for Death Watch 2000, The Rise of Magic. I didn't pick it up at the time because it was $2.50, and a couple of the books they did in the mid-'80s didn't really impress me other than the artwork. But I have a couple Armor and Silver Streaks, which is another early series, but catch this on the back, the book that never was. He was going to cross over his Valeria She-Bat with Spawn. Never happened, unfortunately, beyond, I think, this initial art. But kind of interesting, huh? Although Valeria She-Bat, nobody knows who she is, so it's like if you have a big deal team up with like a major indie character who, Spawn was huge at the time. I think Todd just said, Neil Adams was a huge draw, but why would I share, my bread and butter character with a character that just came out that may not go anywhere? That's just one thing, because Todd's kind of actually, I was going to say he's pragmatic, but he made a lot of expensive mistakes too. But when it comes to, Spawn's like way past issue 300, and I really applaud him for that. This is Firestorm, and I liked him because Al Milgrom was drawing it, and I really liked Al Milgrom's Guardians of the Galaxy, the very short-lived book in Marvel Presents, the series. It was like 7 issues. But I was like, oh yeah, okay, this is that Marvel guy, and it's written by that Marvel guy, Jerry Conway, and also Al Milgrom is co-creator. Bob McLeod, not McLeod. I always want to say McLeod. He really makes Al's stuff like sing. A little closer here. Hold on. I'll scoot some shit out of the way. Here we go. Because Al's stuff can be really chunky. It could be really... when he inks himself, I really don't like it. It's just really sloppy. Here we go. This is a commercial, by the way. This is an ad, by the way, even though it sort of looks the same. Those Hostess cupcakes. But I love that costume as a kid, though. I don't know why. It's so audacious, and I don't think it would fly now. I think the one in the DCU show that was guest starring in Flash, or was it Green Arrow? It was in the middle. I don't know. Sometimes the translations aren't that great. Okay. Sea monkeys, which is actually brine shrimp. I'm not putting you on either. I sold those things forever. First time, this is before Firestorm became a member of the Justice League, and gets caught by Superman. He's like, who the... it's... say it. Superman! One of the few times you see Firestorm with his eyeballs showing. So, look at... McLeod is really... he's at least, I'd say 50% of the reason these pages look good. Because I think Al is better when he has a strong inker. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a strong inker. I just mean it really adds the necessary depth. Whoa, there we go. So anyway, that's it for this week. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you have anything to add, please let me know. Also, what do you think of my opening theme song? Was it thumbs up, thumbs down? Please hit like and subscribe. And if you subscribe, hit the bell for the notifications. You'll be notified when I do another video. Comment as much as you want. You can do many comments on different underneath this. Share with somebody else that's a passionate comic book reader, and having a good old time. So everybody have a great morning. It's Saturday morning for me, and just chilling out with comic book books. Bye.